Humans of the Cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today, I want to do a quick little video talking about Age of Overlord. We are about to get right into the final swing of reveals for this set. The set drops in the OCG July 22nd. It's currently June, about to be 27th. And so, there's going to be like 25-ish days until this set is completely revealed. Not much time, and we still have 50, I think it's almost exactly 50, cards still yet to be revealed. So there is a lot coming. We're going to be averaging 2 cards a day for the next 3.5 weeks. It's a very exciting time. Now, that being said, I do want to talk about how the set has started off, because I find myself a little bit underwhelmed by this set. And you'll see what I mean as we go through this quick little tier list. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but just to quickly explain it, this is pretty much summing up everything that we've had revealed so far. It's only 30 cards total, but it's like 8 or 9 total things, or, little, supports or packages, new archetypes, whatever. And I want to tier them out real quick. And this is via competitive viability. So like S tiers, not necessarily an S tier deck, or support, but just like really, really cool, really, really competitive and awesome. A is pretty solid, not amazing, but it should be able to be somewhat relevant in the competitive scene. B is aight. C is meh. I know these sound kind of similar, but C is just definitely a more negative version of like an okay, volley of support or whatever. And B is a little bit more positive, but not quite good enough for A. And then D is just like complete duds, do nothing, absolutely nothing competitively moving forward. So let's get into this thing. Starting off here, we start with the Nouvelle support. I'm going to put it in aight because I think for Nouvelles and what they needed, it's pretty good, but it's still Nouvelle. So I don't think it's actually going to affect the format all too much. But the new monster and spell are both pretty nice. That's fine. For the Vanquish Soul support, there's 2 cards. The Trap is a complete dud, but I'm going to analyze them as a whole. I'm going to put it in pretty solid. Xiaotu is a really nice card for the deck. It's not amazing, but it does raise the ceiling of the deck, which is very nice, because that's definitely one of the bigger problems for the deck, is just not being able to get to super powerful plays, but this does certainly help with that. The Reptile support, I'm going to put them in aight as well. I'm going to give them a little more of a positive, decent impact here. The deck still isn't there. I don't expect it to be all that good competitively, but I do think the support is good for them, all things considered. Kind of similar to Nouvelle, right? Like, the support is solid. I'm just not sure it's going to be enough to move a deck like that into actual competitive status. The Watt support, I'm going to put it in a dud for me. Listen, I know Watt's needed so much, but to me, this is like support that ended up in the set, and it's going to be something that, except for, I don't know, maybe 1% of the player base at all that always liked Watts, nobody is going to be interested in these cards. They are all probably going to be commons. They probably all should be commons, because nobody's going to want to pull them in their super or ultra rare slots. Yeah, it's just unfortunate. But if we're talking competitively speaking, these cards are completely irrelevant. This is the first card that I think is potentially sick. The new Monodome Synchro. It is completely generic, and it just summons back a body. We know how good those cards are. They've all come up over the time span of history. So we're seeing Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon go on right now. We've seen stuff like Metal Marcher be good in the past, and this is just another version of that, a card that kind of helps us just synchro climb. It gets us extra bodies. It's a good card. I expect it to be seen because it's just a really good generic synchro tool, and we'll see it come up. So that's the only card and this is by the way, just this card, not the rest of the Visa stuff. I have that stuff here. I think that stuff is just aight. I think it also falls into this aight category. I think Visas has so much more going for it than Nouvelle and the Reptile support, but overall I'm a little more just underwhelmed by this overall wave of Visa support. It's a bunch of weird cards, conditional trap cards and stuff that are just okay, and I'm not even sure are actually going to be worth playing. This guy's an interesting tuner extender, which is nice for them, but that's about, other than the Monodium Synchro 6, which I put separate here, the rest of the support is really just okay. I'm not even sure we're going to end up playing it. The only reason I give it any tip of the hat is just because it's Visa stuff, and they have so many cards already in their pool. Then we'll bring up another one. This is Z Arc. I'm going to put this again at... Actually, you know what? I think I need to move these down because I am pretty negative about the rest of this. This guy may be the only other card that sees play other than the Monodium card. Okay, moving on with Z Arc. Yeah, they get new support. This has never really been a deck that's really been able to function on its own as like a full-on playable deck competitively. I think it probably takes a step forward there. My worry, even though I think this support is actually not terrible, is this just worse than Draco Slayer? Is this just worse than Pendulum Magicians? Is this just worse than like a Super Heavy Samurai Zephyr pile? Is this just like the 5th best Pendulum archetype out there you could be playing? That's entirely on the table. So I'm going to put it on the lower end of B because while I do think the support is decent, pendulums are just weird like that. So I think they're decent. There could be something there, but I'm still trepid on it. Horus. Horus to me is top of B for now. I think they're still exciting and there's a lot of potential there, and maybe we'll see a couple decks mess around with it with a Horus engine. But after that, it's kind of like, okay, what are we doing here? They have to really capitalize on a second wave of support to really make them feel like they can work as their own archetype. They're super weak to a ton of different things in the game currently, and they're very fragile if you just like remove the continuous spell, so you have to watch out for stuff like that. But it's an interesting little theme for sure. So I think it at least deserves B because there is definitely huge extension potential and the potential of support in the next set, but I don't see it being A or B or A or S, moving into future formats. And the last one we had here is the new Dino Link. This one to me is a dud. I mean, I've seen multiple Dino players say, I'm not playing this card. I'm just not even playing it. We've never seen a good Dinosaur Link monster in any way, shape, or form, and this one does not change that at all. So yeah, I think this is close. And then honestly, as I look at this before we move on to the next portion, I honestly want to move this down to B because they got 2 cards. One card was a complete dud, and this one's just solid, but doesn't like really, it's not insane for them. It's pretty good. And I almost want to move Monodium down because it doesn't feel as strong as SS tier to me. So then when you really come to look at this, you're like, this feels like a little bit less balanced now that we aligned like where I thought, like, at the time I was like, oh, this is better than this stuff. But this is where I think I end up here. Long story short, and maybe it's just my personal opinion, I don't particularly love most of the stuff here. To me, the coolest thing in the set so far is like the reptile support, and like I like the Vanquish Soul guy. He's new, he's cool. I'm definitely I like him, but like to me the reptile cards, the 2 new ones, especially the quick play spell, are like the 2 coolest cards in the set so far, and that's kind of bumming me out that we're over a third of the way through the set already, and this is kind of where we're at now. There's so much time for them to release a lot more relevant stuff, go right at it. And I think it even, I think it's a good thing that I made a very similar video for the last core set where I said I feel a little bit underwhelmed so far with early reveals, and looking at it now, I'm looking at Dune and I'm actually quite pumped for Dune. There's like 4 or 5 decks I cannot wait to like put together and mess around with post Dune, and that's, that kind of tells you that maybe on first look I was kind of like, but then when I really looked again, there were some really cool things I'm excited for. There's some really good higher end like rogue decks that are going to come out of that set, which I'm really excited to kind of mess with. But I don't know. Is there going to be another new archetype? I hope so, and I hope it's good. I hope it feels more fleshed out than Horus. I don't want extra generic engines added to the game. I want like decks that feel like decks on their own, but are still good in their own way. That's what I want to see. I want to see support. I want to see 3 to 4 archetypes get the kind of support where you're like, oh shit, that deck might be like a playable rogue deck now when it wasn't already. That's what I want to see. Stuff like in the last set. Infernal Knight support, huge. I think they're actually a playable rogue deck after that. Unchained support, huge. Altergeist, good support for them. And I think there's another one, but I can't. Oh, Rescue Ace is the other big one. But like best deck in the OCG over the last couple weeks. Like huge waves of support that like decks super needed, and they may have just created like 4 decks that were not even, you wouldn't even consider them like playable rogue decks, and then immediately did because of that set. I want to see 3 to 4 archetypes at least come from the final 50 cards here, because right now it's like there isn't one. I don't think the Reptile support or the Z-Arc support or the Nouvelle support are good enough on their own to make like non-rogue decks, and that's what I need to see. Maybe one like high-end competitive thing, whether it's, you know, support that makes a new high-end competitive deck. Maybe it's a new archetype we haven't had revealed yet. Whatever it is, I want one high-end competitive thing, maybe one really good generic card, and then the rest I want to see a couple of like actual rogue pushing supports as well. So that's it. I just feel a little bit underwhelmed so far. I have faith because the last set kind of did it. We didn't get like the new archetype that's like super high-end, but we did get 4 to 5 cool decks that jump into like legit the competitive sphere from that, and I think that's like already a good sign. I think they can do more than that here, and I'm hoping for that. But yeah, just want to make a quick video. We're about to get right into the swing of these full reveals, so I figure this is the perfect time to make this video because honestly, the whole rest of this week we could have reveals, so those will probably be my focus videos for the next 2 to 3 weeks. It's going to be a lot of Age of Overlord stuff, and I'm very excited for it. So just a basic video here. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think I'm just being too harsh and it's too early to judge anything? That's entirely possible. In fact, that's quite likely. But let me know your guys' thoughts down below. Where do you land on the set so far? Where do you want to see them go as far as the competitive aspect? Like, these sets should feel like they're changing things up. Not too much. We don't need those tier limit sprite sets at like 2 things like that in the exact same set every single set, but it should feel like when these sets drop that there is some change, and you should get excited that the format is going to shift in one way or another. So that's kind of where I'm leaning there, because right now it doesn't feel like a ton is going to shift from what we have so far, but we'll see. I'm out of here for today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, subscribe to the channel. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.